Okay, we
Sounds
are
good.
live. Okay, welcome. Today we have Amanda. Amanda from, I know you're in the States. Whereabouts in the States are you?
Just outside of Chicago.
Okay, cool. Cool. So you still got kind of almost winter weather like we do there.
Yeah, it's a little cool today.
It's
Up in the
literally,
40s or so.
it's literally snowing here in the month of May. It's ridiculous.
Oh, wow.
So you got your 5 questions lined up?
I do.
Awesome.
Yeah. So my first question is, how do I discern the timing of taking action? Or another way to look at it is, should the action feel easy when it's actually appropriately timed?
Yeah, I like, even better than the word easy is effortless, right? So when you're fully in the new paradigm, so for those of you who aren't familiar with old versus new paradigm, so here's, in the collective we focus on what's called the new paradigm. So old paradigm is life is effort, life's a struggle, I've got to work hard for success. You're not utilizing that mechanism of synchronicity, alignment, vibrational work. That's old paradigm. New paradigm is about not chasing after manifestation, but chasing after the experience of pleasure, which then unlocks the receiving mode, that mechanism of synchronicity, all the good stuff. So for somebody who's truly in what I would call the new paradigm of way of being, is it's no longer about the efforting action, but it's really about inspired action. So you're only ever taking action because that action brings pleasure, because it feels fun and exciting, not because it's going to get you anywhere, but just for the joy of the action itself. So for me, the benchmark that I use when it comes to action taking is, am I doing this to achieve something, or am I doing this because it feels good? And do I care about the outcome of that action? And if the outcome of that action doesn't give me what I want, would I still take that action? And if the answer is yes, I take it. So that's how I measure whether it's like an attached to outcome efforting action.
Yeah.
And the other benchmark I give people is, if you take that action, will it bring relief? And if the answer is yes, then that's another good sign that you should take that action as well. Because, for some people, going to work doesn't feel good, and they might translate this to, oh, going to work doesn't feel good, so Nick says to stay home, I'm going to stay home and sit on my ass. And, that's not what you want to do, because by not going to work, then that's going to create more wobble, more vibrational discomfort probably, because you won't get paid and you'll get an upset boss, than taking that action. So really the two things to look at are, how is that action going to make me feel? And, what's the outcome going to look like? And am I doing it just for that outcome when I don't have to?
Yeah. And I think that's where I'm in between, like this idea of, like, I think you've shared it, Nick, but also Bashir says, like, follow your path of most excitement.
Yeah.
And if there's an opportunity that feels exciting in some way, but yet I'm trying to discern, is that perhaps adrenaline? Like there's an exciting factor, but there's also a fear factor there,
Yeah.
right? So it's more of like, does that mean I just don't do anything right now?
The word that I prefer even more than excitement is impulse. And this is something else we talked about the collective, which is, the old paradigm way of operating is dominantly from, mind-based processing. So all of your decision making is based on looking at the circumstance, analyzing it with your mind, and then taking action based on what you believe is going to create the best outcome for you based on rationality and logic. The next step up from that, which is where most, self-help spiritual people are, is a mix of, feeling out your decision combined with that rationality. So tuning in, does this action feel right? Does this feel intuitively like the right thing for me to do? Right? And when you look at really successful business people, they'll tell you that they trust their gut first and foremost before anything else. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So I would say first stage is logic. Second stage is learning to tune into your gut. And when you're using your gut, you're also kind of in parallel, you're cross-referencing it with what your mind is telling you. So it's kind of a mix of the both.
Mm-hmm.
The next level up beyond that, which is what I would call like really in the new paradigm way of operating, is it's no longer about your mind. It's no longer about the gut, even though, they eat into those once in a while, but it's really about impulse, right? What impulse do I have now? And your impulse and your excitement kind of go hand in hand, right? So when Bashar says, follow your path of highest excitement, really it's about following the best impulse that you have. So your impulse might be to go take a nap. Your impulse might be to go shoot a YouTube video. Your impulse might be to call a friend. It's understanding that from that place of alignment, you're receiving those impulses from your inner being, your inner guidance, and your only job is to keep following those impulses, the best feeling impulse. And when you look at the animal kingdom, that's how animals operate, right? So like birds who migrate south, you know, they don't pull a phone out of their pocket and do a Google search to see, oh, what's the date that I need to go south? They just get the impulse when it's time to go, and they go. So the evolution of the human, when you've mastered that level of alignment and stepping into this new paradigm way of being, life becomes easy and effortless because there's no more figuring out, right? It's just, what's
Yeah.
my impulse? What's my impulse? What's my impulse? And that's
Okay.
how I operate 90% of the time. And I've got maybe 5 or 10 things on the go. But again, there's no stress there because it's just, oh, this feels exciting for me now. And I'm detached from the outcome. Now this feels exciting. So you get into this magical flow of just experiencing and taking pleasure in all of these different impulses.
So can I be more specific with a real life situation here
Totally,
and
totally.
have your help on this? So it literally was, as you described, a total random impulse where I don't think I was even necessarily consciously thinking about a different, like elevating my marketing process in terms of creating more lead flow traffic for my business, right? I mean, it's obviously an underlying desire that I've always had, but randomly I came across this opportunity and, you know, like kind of felt an impulse to learn more and be like, oh, what's this all about? I want to see what this is. And, you know, then go to discover that there's of course a program that you can do and, you know, a whole step-by-step process. And then totally went into the mind. Then it was like, I totally went into like, okay, is this the right time? I'm totally in the space of it. Now I was interviewing somebody else. Like, should I look at this program? So I'm totally trying to logically evaluate
Yeah.
if this is the right time for my business. And I can sense this hesitation of like, if I just had followed my impulse and was like, dude, this looks actually awesome. And actually this is the next step. And yet part of me feels like that's irresponsible.
So if you knew without a shadow of a doubt that that impulse was coming from your inner being, that your inner being was giving you that impulse, Amanda, sign up for that course. Would you take it?
Of course.
Okay, good. So next time you get those impulse, and you know, this is part of the learning, right? A, it's about understanding that those impulses are coming from your inner being if you're in that place of alignment, and then B, not allowing the logic mind to get in the way and talk you out of it.
Yeah, that's totally what I feel has happened. So now I'm in the place of like, oh, I don't even know if it really was like what I'm supposed to be doing or not.
But
So
that's okay. But the other thing too is to understand that just because your inner being is giving you the impulse to sign up for that program, you might still not get out of that program what you were hoping to get out of it. But that doesn't mean it was the wrong step, right? A
oh,
lot
interesting.
of
So I may
people,
not get what I think I would be doing the program for, is what you're
but
saying.
if you're getting the impulse, you're still getting what you need, right? So a lot of people think that when they do something and then it doesn't turn out the way they want it to, that they didn't follow their inner guidance, or that they screwed up, or that they took a wrong step, or that they were not a vibrational match. And in reality, the impulse that you receive from your inner being to that scenario or that circumstance may have something to do with some other aspect of your own growth, of your path, that you have no idea, right? So really, you know, this new paradigm approach is really about understanding, hey, I don't need to figure anything out. All I need to do is follow my impulses, let the situation, the circumstance, the outcome be what it's going to be, with the understanding that this is the best possible thing for me. Because my inner being is so unconditionally loving and wants nothing but the best for me, then of course the impulses are going to be the impulses to the things that are what's best for me.
Okay. So where I'm at now, it's been a few days. I've been processing. Like I said, I'm totally in my head. Is it kind of like, okay, I've kind of already messed that one up. So just have patience and see if I get an impulse again, don't
Yeah,
analyze it to death.
I mean, you can never really mess anything up. So like you can miss the boat. So when it comes to manifestation in your inner being, there's going to be an infinite number of boats until you finally get it, right?
Mhm.
So my advice for somebody in your shoes would be like, take a step back. Don't feel like you need to figure it out. Get back into alignment and then see what your impulse is telling you to do.
Mhm. Okay. Okay.
Cool. Great question. I love that one.
Yeah, that's helpful. I mean, that's pretty much everything I have is around that. Is really this idea that, well, I guess that's if you notice that there's a wobble, like there's clearly a wobble because I didn't just instinctively
Yeah.
take
So
action all the way through.
yeah, so if there's wobble there, then that means that there's something in your belief system to explore, right? So when you get that impulse, you know, we're here for two things. We're here for joy and we're here for growth and expansion. So growth and expansion happens outside our comfort zone, right? You're not going to grow and expand if you're just doing the same thing, experiencing the same thing every day. So our inner being naturally is going to lead us to expansive circumstances outside of our comfort zone for that growth and expansion. And it's not purposeless growth and expansion. It's obviously stuff that lines up with where we want to be and our path of least resistance and all of that stuff. But when you get an impulse and then that fear creeps in, it's about taking a step back and looking at that fear and asking those questions. This feels unsafe because what must I believe is true to feel this way? Those belief tree probing questions, so that you can understand, what's the resistance in me following that impulse.
So would you say if you have the impulse, it's always in your highest and best evolution to just continue to take those actions?
Absolutely, as long as you're doing it from that place of alignment, right? So somebody who has an impulse to go, you know, do some heroin, that's probably not an aligned impulse. That's probably an impulse from a place of disconnect and resistance. So, when I'm telling people here on this call to just keep following your impulses, well, obviously that's following your impulses from a place where you're connected to your inner being and in alignment, not from a place where you're, disconnected and not feeling good and just looking for ways to self-soothe.
Gotcha. Okay. So it's really about being self-aware as often as possible, moment by moment, of where you are emotionally.
Yeah, it's about being open to understanding that like those emotions are our literal guidance system, right?
Mhm.
So our inner being would never give us an impulse to something that would be of disservice to us. So if it gives you an impulse to something and that something brings up negative emotion or fear, then that's something that you want to explore.
Well, and I guess the other side of that is you even if you're uncertain if it was an impulse, a true impulse from your inner being, or just like building a momentum from some other vibration that you've been practicing, right? Can you ever you always say you can never get it wrong, right? You can there's never something that you can't recover from.
Absolutely. You can never, what is it that Abraham Hicks says? You can never get it wrong and you'll never get it done.
Right. So really it's like what is the downside of following every impulse to just play it out is that there may be some discomfort along the way, but there's an
Absolutely.
opportunity to learn.
It almost reminds me of that Jim Carrey movie. I forget what it's called, Yes Man or
Oh
something,
yeah.
where he
Like go
just says
into
yes to
everything.
everything, right? So
Yeah.
maybe after this call, I'm going to go reflect on that and just start. Well, I mean, I'm already doing it mostly, but really just every tiny little impulse I get, just go do it and see what happens.
Yeah, that would be a really interesting way to live your life for like a week, right?
Totally, totally. But the key again is really doing it from that place of alignment.
So doing it from the place of alignment and discerning, like, is this either A, something that feels exciting or something that will provide relief?
Yeah, absolutely. So, what is this impulse? Okay, so it's the impulse to go do this. Does that action feel fun and exciting for me? Or am I getting this impulse because I believe that this action is going to create some kind of outcome that I really hope for? And if the outcome doesn't happen, would I still take that step and follow that impulse? And if the answer is yes, then you want to follow it.
Gotcha. So what if you can totally, even though you think like the outcome would be exciting, and that may be part of the excitement, but you also can totally appreciate that even if it's not that outcome, it's going to be an outcome that's in your highest and best. Is
Yeah,
that sufficient?
absolutely. As long as you can appreciate the journey and enjoy the ride, then you're golden.
Okay. It's about being focused. How
Yeah,
well do you focus?
totally. And if your goal is, to create more leads for your business and the marketing sounds fun and exciting, dive into the marketing, right? Part of what I love about my business is like, I love writing. I love writing books. I love writing copy. I love writing emails. To me, writing is just, it's fun and exciting. So for me, doing it myself is just fun. And like, I have, most people, I think the standard email open rate is like 20%. Mine is closer to 50 and sometimes 60%. And it's not because I'm just intellectually good at writing emails. It's because I just enjoy and take pleasure in writing emails and sharing things that are going to help people.
So it's not like you're sitting there thinking like, what's the best,
No.
subject line or the best phrases. You're just simply
I
asking.
had I had somebody join the collective a few weeks ago, and this guy runs a marketing entrepreneur business podcast, and he's got over 100,000 followers on Facebook. He's friends with Gary Vee, and one of the first things he says to me is, Nick, like, I learned so much from your marketing. Like, your marketing is genius. Like, I'm jealous of what you put together. And this is literally like what he does for a living, right?
Yeah.
And I've got very little training in this stuff. I'm just following impulse.
Okay. That's inspiring.
Yeah, and if it's not exciting, but it's an integral part of your business, then your inner being has a solution for that too. Your inner being can line you up with the right person in the right way, with the right cooperative components to let other people take care of the stuff that you don't want to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, part of me is like just intrigued and interested in getting and learning. I like to learn. So learning this aspect of the business, like, oh, this is not something that I know. This is not something that I've done before. So part of me is just the idea of learning it, I think would be fun.
Absolutely.
Right?
And that's the trick. Like, you sound like your mind works like mine, where it's like, yeah, learning, growth, expansion, like figuring stuff out. Like, there's so much pleasure in all of that.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Okay.
Awesome. Awesome. Throw one more question at me. What else you got on your list?
Let's see, one more question.
Or did we make it through? Okay, go ahead.
We kind of went through all these. I guess it's the idea of like the balance between learning and growth and being satisfied with now. And I think actually this is just coming off the top of my head now with where we went, is I've always been drawn to growth, expansion, learning, and really had to be intentional over the last, I would say, 12 to 15 months to be satisfied with where I am, satisfied with now, right? Not wanting to be reaching ahead. And I feel like I've been in that space and it's worked really well, but I'm kind of feeling myself lean back more into like, I want more, I want to grow, I want to step outside of my comfort zone. And I'm sure it's an ebb and flow, but at the same time, part of me is like, but the magic is in feeling satisfied now and not necessarily looking for something to change.
So what makes you believe that you can't be satisfied now and have that high level of growth and expansion at the same time?
Well, and I think the key, as I'm saying this out loud now, is the key is recognizing what I didn't previously know, that when I'm enjoying the journey and detached from the outcome, I can just enjoy now.
Yep.
Whereas previously I was so attached to the outcome of what that growth would provide.
Totally. I recently watched a documentary, I think it was called How to Be a Billionaire. I think it was on Amazon Prime or something like that. And, they were interviewing these billionaires, and one guy was driving his Ferrari, and he literally said, like, they asked him, what's the key to becoming a billionaire? And he said, like, it's enjoying the ride. It's not about the destination you're going to get to. It's about enjoying and taking part in and being present in every step along the road. And I keep seeing that message pop up again and again. And that's what it's all about. And at the last Abraham Hicks cruise, somebody asked the question, what's the key to enlightenment? What's the key to mastery of law of attraction? And her response was pleasurely. So she said pleasure was the key, because you can't be in pleasure and in effort at the same time, right? You
Yeah.
can't be in pleasure and in resistance at the same time. So as long as you're in that state of pleasure, which really means enjoying what you're doing, the more you're in that space, the more you're doing that, whatever it is you're doing from that place of alignment, and the more that unfolding is going to be magical.
So the key for me then is to really balance what feels like, because I can get really focused, really energized, really busy in action,
Yeah,
and then almost get exhausted, right? So it's this
totally.
balance of finding that flow back and forth to stay in pleasure without having the activity build momentum enough to that it's like now it's depleting.
Totally. Yeah. It's just, follow the impulse, do what feels good in whatever moment you're in, and don't fall into this trap that I'm not moving fast enough, that I need to get more done, that I got to figure this out. Allow your inner being to move those cooperative components around to magically fit everything into place.
Cool.
Awesome. Great chat.
Yeah, this is fun.
Good. Thanks for playing.
My pleasure.
All right. Check you later, Amanda.
All right. Bye, Nick.